Hey everybody, Casey here with Life Abstract Gaming, and this week I wanted to shed some light on a company that's backing many of the most profitable brands in the video game industry, but is largely unknown in the West. Tencent. The Chinese investment company Tencent Holdings Limited has secretly become one of the biggest forces in the gaming world over the last decade or so. Founded in 1988 by Ma Huateng, the company's initial success came from their QQ instant messenger, which was as synonymous with instant messaging in China as AOL instant messenger was with us in the US. They eventually pivoted into their more current WeChat application in the smartphone era and combined services like social networks, online payment portals, mobile games, and general internet services to become the dominant internet brand for their country. The way we consider Facebook, Google, and Amazon to run the internet everywhere else, Tencent has that market almost exclusively to themselves in China. The company eventually started to look outside its borders for areas to expand into, and the rising popularity of League of Legends from Riot Games and the MOBA genre in general was an easy sell. Tencent initially bought up about a third of the Riot Games shares in 2008, then bought a massive controlling interest in the developer in 2011 after it showed continued success. This wasn't a hostile takeover by any means. Tencent's capital and their hands-off approach allowed Riot the freedom to continue growing League of Legends into the massive competitive force it is today. It also allowed for easy distribution of their game in the Chinese market, which has historically been very difficult for outside game companies to do, but Tencent knows the market very well. Riot was only the first of many big game company investments and acquisitions. In 2012 and 2013, Tencent acquired a minority stake in American companies Epic Games and Activision Blizzard, respectively. In 2016, they bought a majority stake in the Finnish mobile game developer Supercell, and then an incredibly tiny percentage of the Korean developer Bluehole in 2017. Without getting into some other smaller investments made into game companies, you can see just how big some of the games Tencent owns a piece of are, some of which are genre leaders competing in the very same markets. It's almost like war profiteering where you sell weapons and ammo to both sides. And Tencent has consistently remained behind the scenes, for the most part only helping these companies grow into bigger successes than they already were. Just this year, in what was probably their most high-profile acquisition, they bought a small 5% stake in the French company Ubisoft, in a deal along with the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. This agreement helped Ubisoft prevent a hostile takeover by Vivendi. Ubisoft's co-founders had publicly expressed concern over possibly losing control of the company, so the industry was actually paying attention when this deal essentially saved their company and allowed for Ubisoft titles to eventually start getting online distribution in China. An effective win-win scenario for everybody. Although Tencent seems to have built a really positive business reputation over the years, it's not without some criticisms. One of their biggest isn't about Tencent directly, but instead the Chinese government. China has very strict policies that have for several years barred foreign companies from doing business there. Some would argue that Tencent's proliferation is directly the result of China blocking brands like Facebook and Google from operating freely within the region, allowing a Chinese company to essentially build up similar services for its own people that can be regulated by their government. So a Chinese company having so much background control of foreign ones can fuel some conspiracy theorists. So far, however, they don't seem to have done wrong by any of the companies they've bought into. Quite the opposite, in fact. Tencent's portal into the Chinese market and strong financial backing have helped make a lot of the games they own pieces of insanely profitable, and by extension, line Tencent's pockets as well. They're currently now the biggest game company by revenue, and the 5th most valuable brand in the world, period. If this was your first time hearing anything about Tencent, I guarantee you it won't be your last. So, what are your takes on Tencent's acquisition of all these game companies? Who do you think they'll be interested in buying into next? Let us know. We're listening.